All right, good morning, everyone. It's 11 a.m., so let's go ahead and get started. This is Mike Dutter with the National Weather Service in Wakefield, and I just wanted to give you an update on the weather briefing for the next week. And I think the main theme for this briefing is going to, as you'll see, will be continued dry and warming up. So the last couple of days, especially in the mornings, have been a little chilly, and we are looking at a warm up into the weekend and certainly into next week, as I'll get into more here in a second. So again, the main highlights: trending warmer today. Still a little chilly, especially tonight with some patchy frost possible. Especially across the Maryland Eastern Shore. There is also some fog possible further inland later tonight and early tomorrow morning. But again, the big theme of this is the warm up that is expected. It will start tomorrow, continue some through the weekend, but it will really go into overdrive, the heat on starting Monday and especially by midweek. And in fact, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we could see record highs each of those days. We'll see how exactly it turns out, but it does look like a very, very warm forecast in store for next week. The next chance of measurable rainfall, realistically, isn't until next Thursday at the earliest. So it still looks like there's really about another week of dry weather, if not more. And unfortunately, with the dry weather that much of the area has seen over the last couple of weeks, the drought conditions have expanded, especially across the Piedmont and really across the whole area, as we'll show in a second. And for our marine partners, small craft advisories remain in effect for the mouth of the bay and the coastal waters, mainly for seas through tomorrow. The conditions look much improved as high pressure builds in over the weekend. So here's the weather pattern for the next 5 days, and you'll see that this high pressure that's over us today will continue to remain over us tonight through the weekend, and then it will gradually, we don't show it here, but this high will gradually move offshore by next week, and that will really allow for really summer-like conditions, that almost a subtropical high setup for the middle of next week to develop. You'll see that we do have this cold front hanging around for the weekend, especially Saturday, Sunday, and even into Monday. But right now, we're not expecting any precipitation with that. And in fact, really the only temperature change with that may be right along the coast, where temperatures may be a little bit cooler than inland areas on over the weekend, just due to maybe a little bit more ocean. The oceans are still, the water is still cold, but the temperature, it might be a little bit cooler along the coast than the inland, but otherwise no precipitation is expected. And here's our forecast precipitation. A lot of zeros on there for much of the mid-Atlantic right through Wednesday night. And the dry, again, just emphasizing the dry weather. This is a chance for wetting rain, wetting rain is defined as at least 1/10 of an inch of rainfall. And this is for the next week through next Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. And generally less than 5% chance of 1/10 of an inch of rain even. So for across the area, a little bit higher, higher as you get over the mountains, but over the middle Atlantic, very little chances for any appreciable rain over the next week. Now tonight, again, we are expecting there could be some patchy frost across the Maryland Eastern Shore, maybe a little bit as well across the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula. But again, generally, these are seasonably cool temperatures with temperatures in the 30s to mid 40s along the coast. Again, there could be some patchy frost, patchy fog across the interior tonight as the low-level moisture starts to increase. But again, just a warmer than this morning, but still a little bit chilly. And here's the regional forecast for the area for the entire week through next Thursday. And again, notice that really starting Monday, but especially Tuesday and Wednesday, you see these temperatures really climb. So into the upper 80s, into the lower 90s which again are close to record territory. And the overnight lows, once we get through tonight, overnight lows will be very seasonable through the weekend, a little bit above average with mostly in the 40s and the 50s. But then by the middle of next week, again, very summer-like, highs in the mid to upper 60s expected for the middle of next week. And again, really no chances of precipitation through the next week. And just to show you the records for next week, mostly the records for all of our sites our climate sites are in the upper 80s into the lower 90s. Richmond by Thursday has a record of 93 for a record high. But again, much of these records, especially on the 14th, especially the 15th and the 16th, could be in jeopardy as that warm air really builds over the area. And just for reference, the all-time record high for Richmond, at least, is 96 degrees for April. For all-time high for Richmond in April is 96, and that's possible. We'll see how things play out next week, but it certainly is not out of the question that we'll see some mid-90s across the area next week. So very warm, and very unfortunately very dry. And this is the latest drought monitor for the area. I think the big change from last week is that we've expanded the D2, which is severe drought, to cover much of the Piedmont and areas north of Richmond. This D3 even now is nosing into southern Mecklenburg and Brunswick County. That's expanded a little bit as well. Unfortunately, over the weekend, these areas over the Piedmont and the Richmond Metro really saw no rain whatsoever. Luckily, those further southeast saw some rainfall, which sort of helped to keep the drought from getting worse in the southeast areas. But again, the drought has definitely worsened across much of the area since last week. And unfortunately, going into the end of next week and even into the early part of the following week, temperatures still look to be well above normal for this time of year, with unfortunately near to below normal precipitations late next week and beyond. It just looks like a very stagnant pattern. And I just wanted to show you this really quick. This is the 500 millibar heights, which and as well in the contours and the difference from climatological normal in the shading. And so this red means that it's much above normal for this time of year. And so this is for Saturday. And once you get into Monday and especially into Tuesday and Wednesday, notice how this ridge and even into Wednesday, notice how this ridge axis just does not move much. It stays very well put over the southeast, and so all the weather systems are going to sort of go up through the plains and into the northern, into the Great Lakes and into the northeast U.S., leaving us again very dry and very warm. And even once you get into the later in the week, we do start to see this ridge shift southward a little bit into the weekend next week. But again, that would still sort of favor a storm track more north of the area as opposed to us getting any appreciable precipitation. So it looks like we're in this for a while, unfortunately. So shifting to our marine partners here, again, for over the next day or two, we're going to have small craft advisories as seen conditions as seen in the orange coloring. Again, generally due to 4 to 5 foot seas. The winds will not be terribly strong over the next few days. And then again, I might have a little reprieve on Sunday, and then maybe another round of small craft advisory conditions possible early next week. And again, these are the wind gust forecasts, mostly out of the northeast or east today and tonight into tomorrow, but then gradually shifting to the south by Sunday and especially into Monday. as that high shifts offshore, and over the weekend again with these very light wind gusts due to that high generally being over the area. The sustained winds, again, this is the next round of potential small craft with that as that ridge shifts offshore. You start to see those increasing south winds. And those south winds will continue relatively gusty through the week with that, again, that persistent south flow and really the pattern becoming very stagnant per se. Seas, again, the core of the seas will be into tonight into tomorrow, with gradually subsiding seas on Saturday and especially on Sunday as that high builds in. So again, these small craft advisories will likely continue through tomorrow night at least, if not into Saturday, for seas around 5 feet. And one last thing before I let you go here, next week for our next Thursday, in fact, a week from today, we will be making some pretty significant marine zone changes by including we will be starting to forecast out to 60 nautical miles over our coastal zones, as well as we will be including in our marine forecast and warnings the Elizabeth and Elizabeth River close to Money Point for as well as part of the Nansemond River, the tidal area of the Nansemond River for our marine forecast and warnings as well. So a pretty significant change and additional services, forecast services for our marine partners. Again, this will go out. The big one is the change out to 60 nautical miles, close to the canyons actually, starting next Thursday. So that's all I have. I'll be happy to take any questions.